Welcome to the second episode of the Joyce Ste podcast. Our second podcast, we kind of went over the first one, was kind of test run and fixed some teething problems, so we're welcome to more constructive criticism, but we're pretty happy with kind of what we're going to do.
Yeah, we got some solid feedback, so we're going to incorporate that into podcast number 2 and hopefully bring the audience what they want. So you can like, share and subscribe. All the loyal fans out there, link in the description, you know what's good. Don't know what the link is to, but the link is there.
There'll be a link to something in the description.
You might not be able to buy anything on that link, but sure look.
You use our Ste and Joyce 10 promotion code. Anyway.
Ste and Joyce 420 actually. But go on.
Last month we talked about our best and worst TV of 2017. So this month we're going to be talking about my favourite topic of pretty much anything to talk about, which is movies. So we're talking about our best and worst movies of 2017. We've got the Oscars coming out this Sunday, so It's a good time to kind of we've been watching kind of all the big movies and prepping for this. So we've kind of seen everything pretty much now that we want to see.
So I've not seen 3 Billboards, Call Me by Your Name, and Lady Bird. They're the only 3 I've left to see that I really want. Obviously, there's plenty I didn't see.
For me, there's Coco and Phantom Thread are really the only 2 that I haven't seen.
Yeah, for Phantom Thread.
Coco was one that I wanted to see in the cinema, but I'm gonna have to wait now till the Blu-ray. But we kind of avoided a lot of the kind of bad movies. Pretty good this year, not watching too many bad movies. But we will talk about 2 movies that we really, really fucking hated this year.
Yeah, not even like just like a bad film, like just
almost
would recommend to watch just to appreciate how good other films are.
Reminds you that they can all be great. A few honourable mentions I do just want to kind of get listed off before we start that I'm not going to be talking about anyway. Some of them might be Joyce's picks for best films, but so just Logan, Star Wars: The Last Jedi, the Lego Batman movie, The Disaster Artist, Big Sick, War for Planet of the Apes, Cardboard Gangsters.
Go on, John Connors.
John Wick Chapter 2, Call Me By Your Name, Lady Bird, Shape of Water, and Ingrid Goes West.
Ingrid Goes West. Oh,
that was a good one. That was a real small one that we almost missed. Like,
yeah, I know. That was amazing. So Aubrey Plaza, go see that.
Yeah.
Or don't go see it.
All those ones that we just mentioned, well worth checking out. So we kind of broke this down into best comedy.
Yep.
Best horror/thriller. Best action movie. Best performance, male or female, we ain't discriminating. Best supporting performance, male or female, we ain't discriminating in that one either. And then we'll be getting on to our worst film of the year and our best overall film of the year. And then afterwards we'll be taking some fan questions that we had from last week's podcast.
Yeah, some serious fan questions.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to start it off. Best comedy for me was The Big Sick. So based on a true story of how Kumail Nanjiani met his wife. It's funny throughout, but the undertones and the theme of the film is basically about a horrible illness that a girl gets, and the guy who she knows she's been seeing, he finds out about the illness long after they've broken up, and the reason they broke up was because he was afraid to tell his family about her. Because
he has
2 different nationalities.
Arranged marriage in his family.
So he's Hindu or Muslim.
He's Muslim, yeah.
He's Muslim, and his family wouldn't approve of her, and he was kind of just waiting his time out to make the next move. And eventually, when she found that out, she broke up with him, and then she gets extremely sick, and then the parents have a bad view of him, and he wins them over throughout the film. Amazing. And then the end of the film is so cool. But it's about his career and his comic career, starting it. And just how you get a bit of an insight into that industry, which is pretty cool. Yeah, and it's amazing acted.
The one thing that I want to call out is really well written and really strong performance, but there's the first kind of proper conversation between Kumail and his ex-girlfriend's parents. There's a certain joke in it. They talk about 9/11, and there's a certain joke that I just lost myself laughing. It was the funniest thing I've seen all year.
Okay, don't say it, but go on.
I don't spoil the line.
Your comedy of the year?
My comedy of the year is actually what most people wouldn't really consider a comedy.
No.
But if you watch the movie, I'm telling you, it's more of a comedy than anything else.
Fucking hilarious.
As Thor Ragnarok.
Yeah.
This movie was awesome. So it was director Taika Waititi. You might know from like indie comedies in New Zealand, such as What We Do in the Shadows and Hunt for the Wilder People, which I both highly recommend. And then he goes from those tiny little small budget movies up to a giant Marvel blockbuster. But he still managed to get in all of his usual comedic sensibilities into the film and completely subverts all of the usual tropes. And he even has his own part. He's one of the funniest characters in the movie. He plays Korg.
The funniest.
My name's Korg. I'm made of rocks.
Yeah. For like coming off of Guardians
and Spider-Man
Guardians
as well.
1 last year though, like, and that was the funniest.
For sure.
The funniest superhero film that we've seen of that. The funniest film of that sort of genre, anything like it for years. Like everyone loved it. Like cult favorite. And honestly,
Massively.
I thought Thor Ragnarok was as funny, if not funnier.
I think it's the funniest of all the Marvel movies.
Yeah.
I really do. I mean, right from the opening, you've got this brilliant scene where Thor is hanging from a chain talking to this giant lava monster.
Yeah.
But because Thor's hanging from a chain, he's sort of turning. So every time that he hits the turn up and faces back, he just sort of interrupts the giant lava monster. He's like, sorry, 1 second. I'm just wait till I can see again. Wait. And he's just messing and fucking with this giant lava guy. And then they just break into Led Zeppelin and just have a massive big action
was actually
sequence.
pretty sick.
Yeah.
Everyone in the cinema was just shitting themselves.
Yeah.
We also saw it in 3D. So
in the IMAX as well.
That scene was so
Yeah, that scene in IMAX was really special. And Jeff Goldblum, hilarious as always, just going full Goldblum in it, just his full weirdness. And it's funny as well because the first two Thor movies, like, I quite enjoy them more than more people. I think.
9 out of 10 or
But
something.
they're easily kind of regarded as very kind of middle of the road average Marvel movies. Nothing too special.
Yeah.
And this one is just easily the best of them. It really transcends all of them. It's far better. It's great out of time in cinema. My only one flaw with it would maybe be Cate Blanchett's villain. She's really good and she's clearly having a good time, like chewing the theory and stuff, chewing the scenery. But yeah, I mean, I think the main problem stems from that her and Thor are kind of separated for most of the film, so there's no real kind of like
chemistry between them. Like,
like
all.
stakes. Like why do you hate him? Like I was rewatching The Dark Knight recently, and you notice that like just about everything that happens in that movie is because of the Joker.
Yeah,
and the Joker is controlling the whole thing, and him and Batman.
It's about their relationship.
Yeah,
like
it's about the two of them. So it works so much better. Anyway, moving on. Best
action film for me was Logan, definitely. So, like, it was up there for me with Guardians and Thor for best superhero movie, but it didn't quite make it. But definitely best action film. The fight scenes in that are just insane, so gory, disgusting. And Wolverine, definitely the best I've seen a Hugh Jackman, to be honest. Like he's also in phenomenal shape. Like he's pushing. He's like 45.
I think he's 50, man.
Really?
He doesn't look now. He actually doesn't look it. Like they put grey hair and old man makeup onto him in Logan
such
to make
a
him look
compliment
older.
when they do that to him.
And it's like, but he is actually like 50 years old. Like he should look like that.
And it's not like a Wolverine film. Like there's lots of swearing, weird relationships. Yeah. Like women that you don't see them in typical superhero films. Like it's like it's not like a superhero film at all, but it's just
much more like a western.
Yeah,
and he just happens to have claws instead of a pair of pistols.
All right, go on.
So then, my best action movie is Baby Driver. I absolutely love this film. It's the basic concept of the film is just it's a car chase movie where all of the car chases and all of the action scenes are timed and synced perfectly with the soundtrack. And the soundtrack is so good. I mean, it's the best soundtrack in years.
Yeah,
so,
even if you haven't seen the
well
film, just go listen to it on Spotify.
Yeah,
like it's
100%. It's Edgar Wright, who's one of my favourite directors working today. Directed things like Shaun of the Dead and Hot Fuzz, The World's End, Scott Pilgrim, etc., etc. Well, actually, those are all of his films until Baby Driver. But
what's the guy's name again? Abel or something? Like in real life,
Ansel Elgort.
Ansel.
Yeah, Ansel Elgort. Yeah,
he's a cool dude.
He's cool dude. He's
so
really good in the movie.
He plays like a kid in this film. He's just like he's a rogue. He doesn't answer to anyone.
Has all these different iPods for different days with different music on them.
Playlists, yeah.
The car chases are really just so special. I mean, the very first opening scene is just this 6-minute car chase all to bell bottoms, and it's just syncs so perfectly. It's great out of time, best edited film of the year. The only flaw I'd really have is that the female lead and pretty much all of the female characters are pretty two-dimensional characters. But I mean, the film is much more about Baby and Ansel Elgort, his character, and more of the relationship with his mum and his music, which is actually kind of similar to Guardians of the Galaxy.
And also Jamie Foxx, Kevin Spacey around there.
Yeah.
They don't let you down. They don't let you down.
Well, Kevin Spacey lets you down.
Come on.
Not in his performance.
Don't give me that. We weren't getting into that.
Yeah, I know.
Alright, best horror thriller. Hands down, there was no debate here. It was Get Out. It had to be Get Out. 98% on Rotten Tomatoes. Debut director for the well-known Mr.
Jordan Peele.
Peele.
So like Jordan Peele, who I've known for years, is like just this stand-up sketch comedy guy from the show Key and Peele.
Yeah.
They did Keanu last year, which was their movie.
Yeah, you're saying I didn't realize. I thought he was a director. This was his biggest film, but I didn't realize he was
first time ever making
like
directing
comedy
a movie.
sketch guy.
And, yeah, he's coming from a background of comedy, and while this film does have a lot of comedic elements and comedic moments. Yeah. It's definitely a horror thriller.
It's not a comedy.
It's not a comedy. Even though it was submitted as best comedy for the Golden Globes. It's not a comedy.
So we saw it in the cinema about 4 or 5 months ago. More than
that.
It
was we saw it in early March. It came out in February.
Oh wow. Yeah. Okay, we saw it a long time ago. And then we rewatched it on Monday night. It's Wednesday today, and it was so much better the second time for me.
Yeah.
Like it just made so much more sense. Everything's added up, and you see things
that you didn't
at
notice
the end of the
time.
movie, that relate to the start. And
there's things like all of the white characters arrive in like black cars, being like white people driving black bodies kind of thing.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
All these little hints and stuff that you didn't pick up the first time, but once you know the twists and everything, it's like this is such a well directed movie.
And it's
everything
not
planned.
It's not like just pure, just like white people not liking black white people not liking black people. It's like the whole grassroots of American society and just oppression, the sort of oppression that doesn't get completely noticed, not pure you're black sort of oppression, is just kind of keeping them down a little bit.
Jordan Peele talked about in an interview that after Obama got elected, people kept saying that now America was in this post-race era. We elected a black president, we're no longer a racist country, we're post-race. And a lot of this movie is about these white people who think that they're not racist, because like I would have voted for Obama third term, is the line that gets used a few times. And they go on about that and go on about like the physical attributes of the black man, and then you start realizing
athletes.
It's maybe taking a little more of a sinister tone. They're really focusing and honing in on the fact that he's black, but all these characters saying like black is trendy now, it's in fashion, it's the new cool. They don't realize how racist they're being, but they are. And then, then the rug is pulled out from under you and realise that they're particularly racist.
And I gotta talk about the production company. I think it's called Blumhouse, yeah. So, the business model behind Blumhouse is they invest in tons of films, create tons of films that are all super low budget. Like, this film was made for $250,000, which in...
Well, this one is more. This one was like...
Oh, this is 8 million.
This was like 5
Sorry, I'm thinking...
It's
single 5 or 8 million, but like seriously, like... 10% of
the last movie we talked about was easily a budget of 200 million, like Thor Ragnarok.
Exactly.
Like, this is a fraction.
And they just spread their bets and get loads of films, and one of them pops off like Get Out that makes 100x
most profitable film for a debut director, I think, ever.
Oh really?
Yeah.
Right. Okay, should we move on to best performance?
Yeah, okay. So
this is the film
your best lead. No, well, actually, let's swap it around. We'll go best supporting performance first.
Yeah.
Builds up to the lead,
Okay. Best supporting for me was Mark Rylance in Dunkirk. So we watched Dunkirk again last night, and the action in that film, I think what you're calling it's called practical effects rather than CGI effects.
Yeah, all practical effects.
Yeah, so like when they're on the boat, you actually see things blowing up, and it's really happening. And it was honestly incredible, and to get his perspective as a civilian going over to Dunkirk, seeing what it was actually like. We talk about war films, we're always honing in on the soldiers and maybe some of the commanders, and then a couple of soldiers' family members maybe. And you never see like what it's like from a civilian point of view, and how dedicated they are to their national pride and really saving their troops and bringing them back and making sure that their nation is safe. And Mark Rylance just embodies that completely. So different to his roles in BFG or Bridge of Spies, where you don't really see him like in that personal level. Yeah, and it's incredible, really. Like,
what I really liked about it, about his character as well, was that it didn't reveal till the end what his motivations were. That, spoiler alert, his son had died in the war 3 weeks into the war. He was a pilot as well. Alert. And then we, let's just blanket, we'll be spoiling movies from now on. Not too overtly, but we will. Yeah. And so then they don't tell you that till the end though. So the whole time you're thinking, why is this guy going so out of his way to save like one soldier to save
why is he never flinching on decisions he's making?
He's just like, we got to go forward. We got to go forward. We got to go here and things like that. And it's a really good character, a really good performance, especially from a movie where people say, there's not much character to these people. It's like, no, there's not a lot of dialogue in the movie. Yeah, there's a lot of character.
100%, and a lot of different characters.
Yeah, a lot. Your best supporting performance comes from a movie that we were talking about earlier, which is Logan. Which is a movie as well that I loved. Logan. I thought it was fantastic. Because I love westerns, I love superhero movies. Combine the two, excellent. So Patrick Stewart has been playing Professor Xavier since the first X-Men movie back in 2000, same length as time as Hugh Jackman has been playing Wolverine. So this is actually, spoiler alert, Patrick Stewart dies in this movie as well as Hugh Jackman, and he. This is a great swan song for both of them, and Patrick Stewart is a really good performance because he's playing this character whose mind is essentially like a weapon of mass destruction. He could kill everybody on the planet just by thinking about it. So what happens when that character, becomes mentally ill and he ends up getting dementia and stuff? And Patrick Stewart is able to be that really wise, stoic father figure that he has been for the last, 15 years in these movies. But then he's also able to play that senile old man who's having these tantrums and stuff, who can't understand and can't comprehend why his mind is playing tricks on him, why his mind isn't acting the way it always has. And it's horrible.
It reminds you of like an old person with Alzheimer's.
Yeah, I mean that's exactly what it's like.
You know what I mean? And it's horrible actually seeing that.
Yeah, and I mean nearly all of my grandparents have suffered or continue to suffer with Alzheimer's and dementia, and like, it's a really kind of accurate portrayal of like how they can act sometimes, but within a superhero movie. Yeah, like
and people know what's wrong with them, but it's so difficult to relate to that you actually get frustrated with someone.
Yeah, and you see that with Logan. He's getting so frustrated,
even though he loves him and he cares for him.
And as well, so much of the time that you see him trying to help Professor Xavier and Professor Xavier's, no, I don't want these pills, stop throwing me pills and stuff. And he's like, I'm trying to help you, but he can't comprehend that. It's so well done.
Yeah, it's fucked up. Okay, moving on to best performance, and that for me is James Franco in The Disaster Artist, based on the notorious film The Room with Tommy Wiseau.
Best worst movie of all time.
Best worst movie of all time is coined, and we watched it recently, and it is just awful, but Tommy Wiseau is so interesting, and the film, like, you don't understand how that can be a human being. Like, how can someone have no self-awareness, like literally not understand what people are thinking ever.
I mean, we watched it just before, we wanted to watch it before we watched The Disaster Artist, and a lot of people have been actually asking me if they need to watch the Room before The Disaster Artist, and I'd say, look, like, you don't need to, but I'm telling you now that both of us said that we definitely enjoyed The Disaster Artist more, knowing and having 100%. Seen the context of the movie. But I'll be honest, the movie is really terrible. Like, it's just awful. And we were able to watch it because we had a group and we were able to sit around and have a laugh and joke about it. Yeah. I don't know if I could have got through it on my own.
No, there's no chance. You just get frustrated with it and be like, oh, this just doesn't make sense. Like, it's just frustrating. Like, how could you be that dumb to make those decisions?
And it's like every single aspect of the movie, the acting, the writing, the direction,
like
they're all terrible.
It in San Francisco and they're using
green screen for a roof. It looks terrible. And
James Franco in The Disaster Artist, he is that 1 in a million person that is Tommy Wiseau, like method acting at its finest. Yeah. Like, this person, there's no one else like Tommy Wiseau in the world. Like, you saw him at the Golden Globes, watch an interview with him, you just don't get him, like, how that could be a person, and you don't understand his motives, his incentives at all. And James Franco just embodies that, and he is him. It's incredible.
But what's really incredible is how, and the movie as well, actually manages to make you sympathise with this character who's a complete sociopath, has no self-awareness and stuff. And
because society kind of hates him, you know? They're like, why?
It really makes the movie about the relationship between him and his best friend, who's actually in the movie played by Dave Franco, James Franco's brother, and about how they're
making new
they're
film,
both
do you know that?
They're both making they're both struggling actors trying to make it, and the two of them sort of find each other and say like, well, if we're not going to get roles, maybe we'll make our own film, and it becomes about friendship in this movie that's about this terrible, awful movie.
You always wonder though, does the other guy's name is Ryan or something? Does
Dave?
Dave. What's he actually think of Tommy?
I know.
You're like.
Oh, you mean not in
the real thing?
In real life,
like
George, George Santero.
Oh yeah.
Something like that.
Sure. Yeah. Go on. Your favorite film anyway? We spent too long on that. Jesus.
My favorite lead performance is Frances McDormand in Three Billboards. So she's the favorite to win the Best Actress Oscar for her role in Three Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri. And, you know, she's been nominated plenty of times before. She won before for Fargo, which is one of my favourite performances and favourite characters of all time. And this is arguably her best performance since Fargo, and some people are saying it's her best performance full stop. She, in the movie, she plays this mother whose daughter has been raped and killed, so she puts up these billboards. And it's kind of her against the world sort of thing. She's putting up these billboards to say to the police, you know, it's been 3 weeks or whatever, 5 weeks since this happened, and yet there's still no arrests. You know, the police, what are you doing?
What happened exactly?
Well, I can't really give it away. That's all you kind of get at the start. I don't want to give away because you haven't seen it. I don't know a lot of our listeners haven't either.
Oh yeah, actually don't give it away.
Yeah, so she does a lot of kind of really unlikable, really off-putting and heinous things throughout the movie, but because her motivation is still about, you know, her justice for her daughter. But she justifies to herself doing these awful things. She has a lot of work to do as an actress to remain likable, and she's so likable in this movie. Like, it's like you just love her, and her performance is great. And it's things as well, like you see in kind of flashbacks and stuff, that she wasn't a great mother, she wasn't a great wife either, she's not a great person. But Frances McDormand, through her performance and through the writing as well, just make the character so likable, and you just root for her to kind of get justice for her daughter and everything. And I mean, I'll talk more about the movie a little later on, but the performance is really my favourite of the year.
Exciting. So moving on to the worst movie of the year, and this is hands down a movie that I wasn't going into it being like, oh, this might be bad. I actually thought it was going to be good.
You were pretty pumped for this. I remember you were pretty pumped. Like.
The ads got me hard. I'd seen ads on Netflix for this film. It's Bright, by the way. I've seen ads on Netflix since like November, and this was January it came out.
It came out like right at the end of December.
Could have been like Boxing Day.
Yeah, it could have been like 26th December kind of thing.
Yeah. And I was absolutely pumped for it. Like Will Smith, you know, monsters, gunfights.
David Ayer,
crime,
who directed like Suicide Squad, which was shite, but also
and that should have been a Telltale Sign.
Yeah, but he had also done like End of Watch, which I really enjoyed. It was a really good cop movie, and I've heard that Fury, although I haven't seen it, is excellent.
Not seen that either.
Yeah.
So this film, it started off actually okay. You know, it was a good concept, but it was just full of plot holes. It was too dark to see what was going on.
Couldn't see what any of the action scenes were.
Exactly.
Way too dark.
It's called
Literally
Bright.
couldn't see them.
It's called Bright. And like there'll be times during the film when you'll think, is this film actually like very clever, and I'm actually not missing something, but it's all adding up, and you're completely wrong. It's not at all. There's just nothing there. They had a huge marketing spend. That's clearly, you know, they just said, okay, we're not going to get a writer for this. We'll just, you know, get a few ads going out.
Put Will Smith in it.
Put a few adverts in Times Square. Do you remember the
it was massive
billboards in Times Square? And like, honestly, if you're thinking of watching it, please don't. Like, I'm actually, you know, don't give Netflix.
It's awful. And there's this like race allegory they're trying to go for, and they're kind of going for the same thing that Zootopia was.
And at the start, they're kind of nailing it.
It kind of made sense, and then it started being like, well, none of this works as a race allegory. It just doesn't make sense the way that they're doing it. And then they had just weird things like the Shrek movies existed in this world somehow. One of them references Shrek, and it's like, well, how could Shrek live? Shrek's an ogre in a fantasy
movie. How can you have Shrek
movie.
in this like parallel universe that like
where all these things exist? Like, is Shrek a documentary in this world? Like,
yeah.
This doesn't make any fucking sense.
Are you guys actually like fucking ogres or something? Like, what is going on here?
And then, it's just, as well, Netflix, I don't know, they've done really well on their original TV content, although, like, a lot of their stuff does seem to be misses. We just always just watch the best stuff.
Exactly, they just pump out, same as Blumhouse or whatever.
Yeah, they've invested something
so
like
much content.
Like $800 million or something in original content for this year, and most of which is movies. They've optioned
most of it's movies.
Yeah, like not now. They don't produce all of their movies. They don't have, like Bright was like a thing where they signed it off and they made it. It was their whole production. But a lot of their stuff they're doing is they're just buying from film festivals and studios and stuff. And like that's the thing. So they recently, you saw they released that Cloverfield Paradox, the third Cloverfield movie.
Yeah.
And they released that on Netflix. And the thing was there, the Paramount was the studio that actually Paramount actually made the movie, financed the movie, and everything. And then they kind of realised, oh, this movie's pretty shite. So then they sell it off to Netflix. Netflix releases it as this big thing, big Super Bowl ad, big surprise drop. And they literally said, we're dropping this Cloverfield movie tonight. So they put it up on Netflix.
It's a pretty cool stunt now.
Great stunt.
Honest, that's cool.
The problem is, they did that. They did the great stunt. The movie was terrible.
Yeah.
Now are they going to be able to do it again? Like, the next time Netflix is like, we're going to drop this massive movie. But, I mean, they dropped Bright, it's terrible. They dropped this Cloverfield Paradox movie, it's terrible.
And the problem is, they're terrible, but they push them.
Yeah.
Knowing that they're terrible, like really shit films. And they're like, okay, well, let's put 50 million in here to...
and the new one that they've just put out, Mute, which is from Duncan Jones, who made, like, Room and Source Code. Like, not Room, Moon. Moon, which was excellent. And apparently the movie they just put out that he's made is terrible as well. Like, so they just keep putting out these duds, and if they keep putting out duds, are people going to be like, stop watching it? Now I know that like Bright's viewing figures were still huge, like so many people saw it, but it's kind of like, yeah, it was their first Netflix's big blockbuster movie. Obviously everyone who has Netflix is going to watch it. They're not going to watch the next one.
Yeah, that's just there. Moving on to best film.
No, I've got to talk about my worst film of the year.
Jeez, you're talking about my one. Fucking hell, go on.
Yeah, I hated your film as well, man.
Yeah, it's so shit.
My worst, this is particularly bad because I watched this movie on the plane over here along with two other movies that were both pretty terrible. I also watched the Power Rangers movie, the new one, and the new Pirates of the Caribbean, and they were both awful, but this one was just, so bad. The new Mummy movie with Tom Cruise. I'll talk about it quickly. I don't want to get into this too much because I just hated it that much. It was so boring. And it's a movie about like going to Egypt and like digging up mummies. It should be like the original Mummy with Brendan Fraser, which is like an Indiana Jones.
Bit of crap, like,
should be fun. Oh, this movie was so dull and dark and self-serious, and I never really knew or cared what was going on, and it was just awful. Yeah. Tom Cruise is usually say what you want about Tom Cruise, but he's always good in pretty much every movie he's in, and his movies, he usually picks pretty good movies. Like, they're pretty solid.
Mission Impossible 5 looks sick.
Yeah, I mean all the Mission Impossible movies except for the second one are pretty solid movies.
The new one looks fucking great.
Yeah, but he's just bad in this, and the movie's awful. And this was meant to kickstart like Universal had this whole plan of this, like kind of like the Marvel Cinematic Universe, where they do like interconnected monster stories. So they were planning like a Dracula movie, a Frankenstein movie, a Bride of Frankenstein movie that was going to have Angelina Jolie in it.
Really?
Javier Bardem was going to play Frankenstein. They had like this whole cast photo with like, oh yeah, these are the Dark Universe. Since this movie came out and was so shit and like no one saw it, they kind of like put on hold all of those projects.
Oh wow.
Yeah. It was a big failure.
Very bad feedback.
Yeah, really bad. Like, everyone was just like, this is awful. Rather than doing kind of like what Marvel did, which is like, release Iron Man, release Incredible Hulk, and then sort of tease, oh, maybe we'll do a little team-up movie. And then when they're like, okay, what we got is working, people are liking it, then they can go all in on the Avengers. 4 years after, like, don't be, like, start producing these movies before you've even...
Play the long game, guys.
Yeah.
Play the long game. Alright, moving on.
Yeah, okay, so best overall film of the year. Dunkirk.
Touched on it already. Mark Rylance, amazing performance. This film has 3 converging timelines. You got your man on the ground. You've got your boys up in the plane. Tom Hardy just killing it, looking like Bane in a plane.
Yeah, Bane in a plane.
And then you've got the civilian who is Mark Rylance, and he's on his boat coming over from England over to Dunkirk in France, and the suspense is incredible. You're constantly on edge of your
Ratcheting
seat.
tension
Just,
to it for
you're
an hour and a
scared.
half,
You know,
like.
it's fear. And some of the scenes when they're in boats underwater, you just really feel claustrophobic, frustrated, and you see the impending doom, and you understand the situation. The commander's having to make a decision. You know, do we save these troops or do we continue with the war on another front? And it's just so scary. You kind of feel what it was actually. It's one of those films where you actually feel like, you know, you understand what war is like, because war is such a foreign concept to us nowadays that, you know, never really lived through a war where conscription was a thing. You know what I mean? And we don't understand what is going on, what is going through these guys' heads. You know, do they actually feel national pride, or do they just want to fucking save themselves and get the hell out of there? And it really does convey that extremely well. And I just loved it. I thought like the acting, every performance was absolutely solid. Honourable mention to Harry Styles, who
Pretty good.
really well acted. Like for an actor for a singer who gets a lot of stick for his singing, like
And not writing any of his own songs.
none of them, yeah. And it's a great film.
Yeah, I mean, just touching on what you said, this is my second favourite film of the year. I absolutely loved it as well. And the main criticism I've kind of seen of the film is that, you know, the characters aren't particularly great. There's not much story. There's not much dialogue. But I'm like, no, you see, it's not your conventional movie. This movie isn't about characters or plot or dialogue. It's about an event, and it's about capturing the exact feeling of being in that awful event and what that was like.
Exactly.
And then also the story of these civilian heroes who go and actually save, and they manage to get out 330,000 British soldiers across the channel. I mean, it's a great story, but I mean, you talked about this is constant tension. I mean, that's what it is. The film just constantly ratcheting up tension for an hour and a half until it finally gives you release right at the end.
Yeah.
And I thought the three timelines converging on each other, with we had one storyline that was a week, one storyline that was a day, and one that was an hour, and then they're all kind of coming into the same moment. I thought it was a really good way of telling a war story, because it meant that you could have, well, the only event that matters is at the end, but by doing this they spread it all out so that you get to know each character from the beginning of the movie, because otherwise they would have had to have like Tom Hardy at their base and stuff beforehand.
Yeah, exactly.
You would have had to see like a week worth of Mark Rylance bumming around his gaff.
Yeah.
Like, this way
and
they could just get everything into
like
one
an
event.
issue at all
No,
during the film.
it works. It's so well edited and so well directed and crafted that it all works as one piece.
Yeah.
And we saw it. You see it in IMAX in the cinema? I saw it in
I
IMAX
did
in the
indeed.
cinema. Yeah.
I did indeed.
And then we just rewatched it last night, just on the TV here. Still works as a
amazing.
film. Still brilliant.
Absolutely amazing.
Yeah, it's not just the visuals. Like it's a great film.
Yeah, 100%.
So, seeing as that was my second favourite film, and Joyce's favourite film of the year, my favourite film of 2017 was Three Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri. This is from director and writer Martin McDonagh, and he was known for In Bruges and Seven Psychopaths before this. In Bruges I loved. Seven Psychopaths I really liked, and this one I loved as well. Such a well written film. I explained a bit about the plot earlier on. But yeah, basically this woman sets up these three billboards in this midwestern town in Missouri, and the movie is a lot about sort of the place of racism, homophobia and sexism in the modern Midwest of America. You know, it's kind of saying like the sort of way they do it is interesting. They're saying, you know, the cops are still racist. They still practice racism, but they can't explicitly say it. And they can't use certain terms. Like one of the cops will say like, oh, you can't say fag anymore to a gay person, but then he'll still be homophobic to him. Yeah. So it's about this sort of like they're aware of their problem, but they don't do anything about it.
Just do enough to get away with it.
Exactly, to not get not just to not get in trouble.
Yeah,
they do everything else, and I mean the whole cast is really fantastic. You got Frances McDormand, Sam Rockwell, Woody Harrelson, and Mac's mom from Always Sunny in Philadelphia. Even she's great in it, and it's such a good movie. And I think it's nominated for Best Picture. It's the current favourite along with Shape of Water to win, but I'd really like if Three Billboards won. funnily enough, the Oscars seem to have got it pretty right this year. I mean, a lot of the films that we talked about are nominated. Logan is nominated even for Best Adapted Screenplay.
That's great to see.
Dunkirk, Three Billboards, Get Out, Lady Bird.
What is Dunkirk nominated for?
Best Picture, Best Director, and a lot of the technical ones like Best Sound Mixing, which I think it'll win kind of a few of them.
Yeah,
Best
definitely.
Sound Mixing and stuff like
See
that. I'd like it to win Best Director and Best Picture, but I think I have a
Three
sneaking
Billboards
suspicion.
seems the favourite, right?
Seems it, or Shape of Water, but I think because those two films are both up there, I think there's a chance of the vote being split and Get Out cinching it. So if you're a betting man, Get Out is currently sitting at about 16-1. So I'd be putting it on Get Out.
It's
I think
not
it's worth
financial
it.
advice. Not financial.
Not financial advice, just
betting advice.
betting advice. Yeah.
Life advice.
But
Okay. Okay. So that is the movie segment. Now to move on to a couple of fan questions and then finish off with a bit of an outro.
Yeah.
First fan question comes from Oisin Tiernan, all the way from Santry, Dublin. D9. What is the hardest thing about being an Irishman in New York? Stephen, take us away.
Well, I wouldn't say there's really one thing in particular. I'd say there's just like a lot of small annoyances. Things like remembering to have to tip and that taxes aren't included in the fucking prices of things. You think like, oh look, there's something for 20 quid, I'll buy that. It's a good price. And then it's fucking 25 quid when you get up to the counter.
Bastards.
And there's our accents aren't really strong enough to really cause much of an issue.
Yeah.
The only thing that does be an issue is slang.
Yeah.
I use a lot of Irish slang that just makes no sense to Americans here. I'll be saying like, I'll just go up and the problem is as well that I don't say what's the crack. I go up and go, oh, it's crack. Like,
Yeah,
and they're just like, what are you saying to me right
Scrack.
now? Yeah, scrack. Or I'll say like, so much of the time I'll just say, sure look, and they're like, what? I was like, how do you even explain Sherlock? Like,
Yeah.
it's just Sherlock. Sherlock at it. Sherlock.
Yeah. I agree.
Those kind of things, like just the little annoyances like that.
I think the hardest thing for me isn't the stereotypes. I don't actually mind the stereotypes at all. Like, you know,
Of Irish people?
Yeah, they're
Yeah.
not like super bad stereotypes generally.
No.
People think they're funny and they like drinking
Yeah.
and
They're not
potatoes
hugely
and
wrong
stuff.
there, you know.
Yeah,
I
exactly.
do like drinking and potatoes.
I think for me, the thing that annoys me the most are just the Americanisms, even in the way they write, like COLO or, and then putting a Z in everything, and then pronouncing the letter or like R, and it's just things like that.
It's a little thing.
But it's not even that's bad. Like when they do it, I'm like, that's okay. But it's when they correct me on doing it the European way that I'm like, what the fuck? No, I'm actually right. I'm meant to make fun of you for your stupid Americanism.
I remember I was like in like a really serious discussion a few weeks ago about like the Catholic Church and the paedophilia stuff. And the one thing that they listened to like my whole debate and my whole argument and everything, and then they were just like, what do you mean by paedophile? I'm like, pedophile. Come on. They're just like, come on, surely you could put the dots together there, mate. Like,
it sounds almost like pedalo.
And it means that joke in the IT crowd where the guy's named Peter File, that doesn't work over here. Because that'd be Petterfile.
Fucking great. Okay, fan question number 2. Jesus.
This is, I think
Richard
we're going to have
Connon.
to research this one before we get back to it.
Okay,
like,
we're just gonna off
read
the
it
cuff here. Okay. Do people with tattoos who develop Alzheimer's use their tattoos as a reminder, or are they confused by their tattoos?
Are they like, where did I get that?
I think like it depends on the
Severity
sliding
of the
scale
condition.
of Alzheimer's condition, but I would say that they probably don't even take it in as being anything substantial. Like I don't think they really consider. I'd say they don't know what it is, but they aren't super confused by it either. They see it as another thing on their body. You know what I mean?
It's an interesting question because I know like there'd be weird things with Alzheimer's. Like my granny would be able to tell me like sometimes she won't even recognize me, and she won't know like where she is or anything like that. But she'll be able to remember shit like that. When I was 6, she took me to the Natural History Museum in Dublin, and we went and looked at all the stuffed animals and everything. Like she'll remember that and she'll remember that day and everything about it that happened 20 years ago. but she won't remember shit like that her husband has passed away and shit like that. That's like real recent.
I get you.
It plays with your short-term memory a lot more. So I suppose if you had tattoos your whole life, they're still just your tattoo. You'd know exactly as you say that they're just kind of a part of your body.
Yeah, they're just like a birthmark almost. You know what I mean?
They're just there.
Good question though. Thank you,
Good
Richard.
question.
Thank you, Richard. Okay, moving on to our outro.
Yeah.
Okay, we're gonna start it off by talking about films in 2018 thus far. Like Black Panther.
Oh, Black Panther was so good.
We saw it last
yeah, we saw it just last Sunday. The Sunday before this one in IMAX opening weekend. Great, such a good movie.
Yeah,
strong performances.
And it's doing extremely well. It's making a lot of money.
Breaking a lot of
deserved.
records.
Much deserved.
Yeah, I mean it joined Jurassic World 2 with being tied as the second fastest to reach 400 million in the States. It's going to break $1 billion. It's going to break $1 billion worldwide. It's going to be top 10 easily top 10 highest grossing films in the US of all time. Not adjusted for inflation, of course. But I mean, you're talking. It's going to outgross things like, I reckon it's going to outgrow Star Wars: The Last Jedi, which was the biggest film last year. And I mean, that's Star Wars. And this is a standalone origin movie about a superhero that like very few people would have heard of out before like the last few years.
But we got a few more good films to come, don't we, Steve?
Yeah, we got things like Avengers: Infinity War, which I'm like really excited about. Even if the movie is kind of like not great, it's still just going to be. I'm just so impressed with the way that Marvel has built up all these different characters and is now converging all these storylines over 10 years and 20 movies. It's just a real achievement. And I mean, that's going to be the event. All the Avengers, all the Spider-Man, Doctor Strange, all the Guardians of the Galaxy, all coming together. It's just going to be a blast. Other comic movies like Deadpool 2 coming out.
Deadpool 2.
Can't wait for Deadpool 2. The marketing for Deadpool 2 has already been great. And it's actually currently called Untitled Deadpool Sequel.
What's the advert with the painter guy, Bob? What's his name?
Bob Ross.
Bob Ross.
Yeah, and it's just Deadpool dressed up as him painting.
Bob Ross.
It's great. It's so funny. There's also things like the Han Solo movie, The Incredibles 2. There's a whole bunch of other stuff. Hopefully, though, as with this year, I mean, we'll probably end up talking about the movies that we'll end up talking about. Probably aren't ones that are even on our radar yet. The ones that will be coming out this time next year.
Always happens.
Okay, so then just a little bit of housekeeping about kind of the podcast moving forward. So next podcast we're going to change up the format a little bit because we've kind of done these kind of best of 2017 ones, which have been good, and now my battery's dying on my thing, so I'm just going to borrow that for a second. So we're just going to say that what we're going to be doing in the future is kind of, we're going to start off with like a bit of a news segment up top, but it's not going to just be like us reading headlines, because who wants us to fucking read the news to you? Instead, we're just going to each take like one or two smaller stories that you might not notice that just interested us, and just kind of research them and talk about them, and then for the bulk of the podcast we'll go into a sort of deep dive on a topic that we both kind of research, maybe something that we can debate.
A couple of the topics you're talking about were universal basic income.
Yeah.
I think that's going to become
tied with sort of like universal healthcare and stuff.
Yeah, exactly. That's going to be a big topic over the next decade, I think. And also data protection, data rights as a consumer, data rights, data regulations for businesses and for consumers. I think it's a pretty interesting thing. We've seen huge developments in the last 10 years, but be a good one to do a bit of a deep dive into. We've researched it ourselves first, so we're not going in blind, and hopefully provide some solid thoughts on it.
Yeah, there's a lot of topics as well. They're kind of like, we maybe differ on opinions a little bit, but we just kind of want to take it so that we'll each just take one side of the argument, research it, and then debate it.
Like a true debate.
Yeah,
a true debate.
And then we'll be doing just more fan questions at the end of the show. So
keep them coming.
Keep them coming. Keep them fan questions coming.
Alzheimer's one was dope.
Yeah, it was a good question. Keep those constructive criticisms coming. Hopefully this sounds much better today. We're doing it standing up, so you better appreciate this.
I just realised I was sitting for a couple.
You were sitting for
I was doing something important.
Yeah, I was doing a very important job at the time though as well. Okay, so thanks for listening.
Thanks for listening, guys.
Get you on the next one.
Smash that like button.